It's okay, it's okay. I'd like to call to order a regular meeting of the Watchung Borough Board of Education on June 9th, 2022 at 7 p.m. May we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome to a meeting of the Board of Education of the Borough of Watchung. Please be advised that this and all meetings of the board are open to the public and media consistent with the Open Public Meetings Act, and that the advance notice required therein has been provided. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Borough of Watchung at which formal action may be taken. This meeting is being live streamed on the district website, where recording of the meeting also will be posted. The public will have an opportunity to be heard as shown on the agenda at points in the meeting provided for the public to address the board. Recording or photographing other than for private personal use requires the consent of parents/guardians whose children may be included in the image. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Barbella? Here. Mr. Buccarelli is not here. Mrs. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Ingracia?
Here.
Mr. Kraft?
Here.
Mr. McDonald?
Here.
Mrs. Murad? Not here. Ms. Sedbani?
Here.
And Mrs. Scharf?
Here.
Okay, we have 7 board members present.
Okay, can I have a motion to go into executive session? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Pepe, can you please read the reason for us going into executive session?
Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-11, permits the Board of Education to meet in closed session to discuss certain matters. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Education adjourns to closed session to discuss a matter rendered confidential by federal or state law, student matters, and specific prospective or current employees, unless all who could be adversely affected request an open session, which they did not.
Okay, we're gonna try and keep it to maybe about a half an hour. Again, hopefully less. We'll try our best. Can I have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
That was Rich, that was Amber.
Motion. Second.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're gonna move on to board member comments. Are there any comments from board members?
Yeah, just a couple real quick, Dory. So I just let the board know I recently purchased a house in a neighboring town in Warren, and I'll be moving next Friday. So unfortunately, that means I need to resign. So I'm going to resign effective next Friday. But I just want to say it's been an absolute honor and a privilege to work with this board and this administration. Get to watch firsthand the passion and dedication they all have for the children. And I look forward to watching Mr. Alexis and this board continue down the path that aligns with the vision that I truly believe is perfect for this generation. And I encourage anyone here at home that's ever considered joining the board or running for board to absolutely do it. It has been one of the most rewarding times of my life. What we do here is extremely important, and I think you would agree. So I highly encourage everyone to do it. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate all your efforts. And the board.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you, Adam, for your service. Unfortunately, you're resigning, and those are going to be some big shoes to fill. So thank you.
Wanted to second that. Thank you, Adam, for everything, especially in the curriculum committee that I've had the pleasure of watching you. So thank you again.
Are there any other comments from board members? Okay, then we're going to move to the superintendent's remarks.
Let me also begin by thanking Mr. Kraft. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you, Adam. You've been so incredibly supportive and dedicated to this position, and we appreciate that, and we can still make room for you to possibly wear the Bayberry Bear costume in the future. All right, good evening, everyone. This evening, as you see on the agenda, we have several celebratory announcements. We have distinguished guests from the Watchung Historical Commission. We have our end-of-year presentation on our progress toward district goals and several administrative reports to share with you. But first, I do want to remark on school security. I've gotten a few emails, just a handful from the community. And I want to make sure everyone understands that this remains our top priority, and to share just some of the steps we've taken to ensure we're on the right track to making sure our campuses are as safe as possible. And since the horrific tragedy in Uvalde on May 24th, we've met as an administrative leadership team several times. We've considered feedback from staff and families, and we've consulted regularly with our police department. I also have met with the regional superintendents in an effort to strengthen communication among districts and share security measures and ideas. Unfortunately, of course, cannot share specific details because of the confidential nature of the security process, but the safety of our students and staff members remains our top priority, and we will continue to assess and evaluate our protocols as we move forward. And now we have some special guests here, and we have time for a little celebration. So first, we want to recognize our retiring staff member, Mr. Riley. The teachers and Ms. Hankowski put together this wonderful proclamation, Chris, and I'm going to read it into the record here this evening. The following proclamation was prepared by the Valley View teachers to be read into the record by Mr. Alexis, Superintendent, honoring Mr. Christopher Riley for his 16 years of service as a middle school science teacher in the Watchung Borough School District at the Board of Education meeting on June 9, 2022. Whereas Christopher Riley was hired on September 1, 2006 as a middle school science teacher in Valley View School, and whereas Christopher Riley touched the lives of countless students over 16 years, sharing his love of science with all of his students and encouraging them in their dreams. And whereas Christopher Riley was instrumental in aligning the science curriculum with the New Jersey Core Curriculum Content Standards for Science in Watchung Borough School District. And whereas Christopher Riley was the assistant director for the Valley View musicals over the years, providing much needed and valuable help to make the annual performances so successful. And whereas Christopher Riley previously served as the district's webmaster and power school administrator, making sure information was updated quickly and regularly. And whereas Christopher Riley was an active member of the 8th grade commencement committee for many years, helping to make the event a rewarding and memorable one for the school community. And whereas Christopher Riley worked deliberately and collaboratively with the faculty and administration at Valley View School, and whereas Christopher Riley's boundless energy, experience, creativity, sense of responsibility, and passion for learning, but most of all, his friendship and good-natured humor will be greatly missed by his colleagues in the Watchung Borough School District. Now, be it resolved that the Watchung Borough Board of Education and the entire school community extend their gratitude for Christopher Riley's leadership and service to Valley View School, and wish him continued health and happiness in retirement.
At the beginning of the year, we our students, one of the things that my family has always said, we have a special happy birthday song. And I offer to sing happy birthday to the students. And if they all look at me, I'll be happy birthday. So since I need a proxy, volunteer. Let's see who's the only student here. It's your birthday, that's what I've been told. What a wonderful birthday, you are 1 more year old. On the cake there are candles all lighted for you. And the whole world is singing, happy birthday to you.
How did that not make it into the proclamation? Okay. Next, we want to recognize Jen Dursey. Jen couldn't be here tonight because of a family commitment, but she received a special award and was honored earlier this spring by the New Jersey Association for Gifted Children with the NJAGC Teacher of the Year Award for 2022. The organization recognized Jen's dedication to developing exemplary gifted programming and adaptations for Watchung's high ability students throughout her career. The award is our way of thanking her for what she has accomplished, they indicated. Jen, unfortunately, again, couldn't be here tonight, but she was able to participate in a virtual ceremony held by NJAGC at the end of April. So congratulations to Jen. Jackie Myers also had a family commitment, unfortunately. It's just that time of the year when you have school-age kids, and was not able to be here. But I want to note that she was selected as the Bayberry Teacher of the Year for her outstanding work, inspiring her young learners to be curious and creative. In addition to her steadfast focus on student achievement, she is committed to her students' social, emotional growth and well-being. But she's not only an excellent teacher, but she's also a role model and mentor for her colleagues. And tonight we honor and congratulate Jackie. Kimberly Clark is here. Kimberly Clark is our Bayberry Education Support Professional of the Year. A dedicated paraprofessional, she works with and cares for our most vulnerable learners. She's a team player in every respect and an invaluable member of our community. I've seen firsthand the good work that she does in the classroom, and I'm honored to recognize her this evening. Kimberly, I'm going to bring you a certificate. Okay, I'm going to go out of order here because Julie Stashevsky, Nurse Julie from Valley View, could not be here also because of a commitment. She is our Valley View Educational Services Professional of the Year. We are honored to have Julie as our nurse. I'm not sure if we could have made it through the pandemic without Julie Stashevsky. She was such an incredible help. She did so much for us on medical and administrative levels, actively talking with the health commissioner on probably a daily basis, keeping detailed records, talking with parents, hearing a lot of complaints from parents, and just dealing with some really exceptional circumstances. But through it all, she always remained calm and composed, and she always kept, and Mr. Toda can affirm this, because we've seen her work with kids in her office. She's always remained her focus on the kids and making sure that they're safe and well. And again, not always just on a medical level, but sometimes, as she says, they just want to talk. And she's always there for the kids and always there to make them feel better, and just to keep everyone aware of what's going on. So we're indebted to Julie Sushevsky, and I would say for the last 2 years at a minimum, for her work, but really for her entire career here. So thank you to Julie. Okay, we also have Morgan Pistorius. Now, Morgan, you recognize because she's done presentations at board meetings before. Morgan has been the driving force behind our STEM instructional program, along with her partner, Diana Bakash. And she's been a highly dedicated member of our teaching staff. She's full of innovative ideas, and you'll see some of those ideas in the presentation this evening. Not that we're making you give that presentation. You're off the hook tonight. But she's full of innovative ideas and seems to be involved in every available activity around the school in some way. She leads the new coding and robotics club. She's the school photographer. She runs our SOAR program. She's involved in the Fiserv Enrichment Project, and she's regularly present at all student performances. For all these reasons and more, she is our Valley View Teacher of the Year, and again, a highly respected and valuable member of our community. Okay, next we have guests from the Watchung Historical Commission. Gentlemen, you want to come forward? Chris Vanderfleet and Steve Pope.
Did you, would you like an overview of the projects and or anything for us to go over?
I think a brief one would be good, right, everyone?
A brief overview. Okay. My name is Chris Vanderfleet. This is Steve Pote. We're both members of the Watchung Historical Committee. And we are here tonight just to present the Legend of Watchung mural. The Historical Committee has been for a long time looking for a home for this mural that has been in town for, well, it was in Sears for over 52 years. And it was removed in 2017, and we've, gone through as a committee several years of fundraising and have been looking for a home for this mural. So we are here tonight to ask the Board of Education if they would be willing to accept the mural as a potential location right here in the auditorium at Valley View School. It meets many of the criteria. Valley View School in this location specifically meets many of the criteria that the Watchung Historical Committee has been looking for, including belonging in Watchung, a place for gathering, a place where it's safe, a place where it's under surveillance and where the public can also see it. So we've been, it's been many of years since we've been trying to move this along, and we found that this year was the best time that where we could move forward and ask and start to get feedback from the community. We strongly believe Valley View School is the best location for this mural at this time. And yeah, we have some pictures up there as well. And as I mentioned, for those who are not familiar with this mural, it is 16 feet long by 10 feet high, painted by Garfield Hunter Jones, and was located above the staircase at the Sears building that was located at the corner of Route 22 and Terrell Road. And in 2017, when the building was demolished, the Historical Committee ramped up efforts to quickly save it, and then ultimately have fundraising efforts to have it ultimately restored. And we've been in touch with an art conservator down in Cape May, New Jersey, over the past year or two. And he is ready to have this mural installed. It's in a position where it is ready to be installed, and in the matter of weeks, once a decision is made as to where this mural can be placed. And as I mentioned before, one of the recommendations from the historical committee and what we believe to be the best location is right here in this room on the wall right behind me at Valley View School. So we're open to any questions anybody may have about the mural. We'd be happy to answer it, and any other additional information that you may need on this. We will be happy to be here and spend the time with you to answer them.
I just have a quick question for you.
Mhm.
Has anyone contacted the Lenni Lenape tribe and their opinions?
Yes, yep, we have contacted them. Yep, we have contacted them.
Can you share some of the conversation? Are they comfortable with the depiction and the story that
Yep.
it represents?
They have been comfortable with it.
Really? Okay, interesting. Because I know, just recently, a couple of years ago, the high school changed their mascot, and they appreciated that, right?
Mhm.
Because it was perpetuating racist and inaccurate legend, similar
Sure.
to what the story seems to be doing.
Mhm.
So I would be really concerned with doing that inside of our schools, where we're trying to promote a culturally diverse and inclusive atmosphere. So before I would feel comfortable voting on anything, I'd like to hear from them as well.
Would you be able to tell the story of the mural, the
Sure.
legend?
Sure, I can give you a very brief overview because it is a
I
little bit.
for everyone else, please, I did read what you presented,
Okay.
so I appreciate that. From my understanding, it's a story that was a pageant in the early
Mhm.
1900s. It was just a story that someone wrote, not necessarily based on fact. And then when Sears was building out their nationwide stores, that they wanted to have some type of connection to the local town.
is
So
correct.
they hired artists to do something that they thought was connected to the town. But I don't know that any of that is based in fact,
Mhm.
is my concern.
Sure.
Did I get that all right?
That is correct.
Okay.
So I would offer that this story actually has been a part of Watchung for a really long time. I believe that this mural, and we believe that this mural generally makes Watchung unique, just as much as Watchung has two lakes. So it's been a part of Watchung's fabric for a really, really long time. And the story actually ultimately is showing compromise and peace once everybody comes together.
It's also saying that the indigenous people wanted to burn the Dutch settler at the stake.
That was part of the story, but they ultimately came together
Okay.
in unity to settle the area.
Okay. Seems like a violent depiction. And it also seems, again, I would like other people's opinions, but the mural itself seems somewhat sexist, with the woman basically bowing to the men.
I had a question about, in the documents that were provided to us,
Mhm.
there were other options of town hall and the texture house. Can you explain what happened there? Because personally, just by looking at it, it seems like a better fit for those environments. But if you can explain to us what happened with those two locations.
Sure. So the Borough Hall is definitely another feasible option. It's one of our recommended locations. Borough Hall is a little bit more challenging to install at this time, in part because the ceiling has to be partially raised, the chair rail has to be removed down below, and it is also pretty tight between where the council dais is and the chairs where the council members sit, and the back wall where it would be installed. So there would need to be a little bit of added protection on the bottom of the mural. The mural also would not be fully framed. A portion of the mural would actually be blocked by the council dais as well.
But that's a viable option. as
That
well.
is one of the options that we outline, yes.
And the Texier house?
There is no room in the Texier house for it. There is no space in the Texier house for it.
Good place for it. It's too bad.
Anybody
Can
have any
you-
other questions?
I think there was one story that Didier Dario told me. So going back to, just saying about Princess Potomka, a lot of our, for instance, our streets are named, they have a lot of Lenni Lenape names, so Native American names. And going back to just the picture itself, there's a lot of residents and children from Valley View and Bayberry, when they used to visit the Texture House, they were able to connect more with their town, their streets, their history. And even when it was displayed at the Cinemark, the historical committee actually had a lot of residents and parents and anyone who's actually visited the Sears itself when it was located on 22. A lot of people reached out from different states and said it was a great thing that it was being preserved because of the value and the childhood memories it brought back. I don't think, I agree some of the history of it could have been just not politically correct, but a lot of it is mostly, when you really look at the gist of it and you look at it, it's more of a story of compassion and just giving each other that room and being able to be friends and come together eventually. And I think that tells a great story because not only is it telling children and our generation in a way saying that you may have your differences, like you said, we're trying to bring in inclusion and just equity. It's saying when you have your differences, but you should find similarities and come together, that it doesn't mean that you have to go at each other all the time.
100% agree with what you said.
So
I just
you-
don't know that I support that, the picture with the background, but I 100% agree with what.
Yeah, so the mural has had, as Amber is kind of mentioning, the mural has had, there's much of the community that actually have a great connection to this mural. We've heard stories of people going out of their way while they're at Sears to go visit the mural, to take a look at it, even if it wasn't in necessarily the area that they were shopping in. And the Watchung Historical Committee would actually like to start reaching out to the schools to educate the schools and the children a little bit more about some of Watchung's history in general. And we think that this mural actually, which has been a part of Watchung's history, going far, well, going far as back early before the town was even established. This is a nice connection at the schools to ultimately where we hope to go, which is teaching, the students a little bit about our history in our town as well.
Well, I think Adam's raised some interesting points. If it's possible, I mean, if you could send the board, I would like to hear from the Lenni Lenape tribe as well. Just hear from them directly, if they support the mural and if they support it being displayed in a middle school. I think that would be good for the board to know.
Okay,
If I can add, I mean,
Sure.
listen,
absolutely.
from art is at the eye of the beholder, so everyone's gonna have an opinion, that's fine. I do like the history of it, and I don't like revisionist history, right? It's a point in time. You can't go back and say, hey, this is the way it should have been now, because 50 years from now, they'll look back now and say, hey, it should have been different. But I do respect that comment you made, Dory, about the Lenape tribe. If they, in their view, don't feel it to be offensive and to be of historical significance, I'd be supportive.
So I know we have this on the agenda tonight, but if we're going to wait for more information, so I'll pull this from the agenda until we get that. And then, we can go from there.
While we're here, I would just, any other questions or concerns that anybody has while we're here in prep for the next meeting?
Excuse me, Chris,
Yep.
thank you for coming, and Mayor Poot, thank you for being here tonight. Could you just describe how it would be mounted and how that would go onto the wall?
Sure. So it would, what's likely going to happen is there's going to be a backing frame of some sort, like a wood frame or something that's going to go around the perimeter of the mural painting. And then what'll happen is in part of our restoration efforts, we had a canvas backing that was placed on the mural currently. And so that canvas backing will then be stretched to this frame, tacked to the frame, and then we'll put a border around it. And we currently have an art conserver, Jason Crafts, who's mentioned in the report, who is willing to do this and able to do this as soon as we have a location approved.
Thank you.
One thing I would add, if obviously we discussed, we get more information from the Lenape tribe, if it is deemed to be acceptable from their perspective, and of course the other board members would have to agree, it'd be a good opportunity for the school and the administration to educate the children about the indigenous tribes that were here with the Lenape, and to be an opportunity from an educational perspective. So just a thought.
And about the Lenni Lenape tribes and beyond, for general Watchung history as well. We do have quite a bit.
I guess
I was just
my
going to
biggest,
add that, regardless of if we decide, I think some context to the mural would be important. So exactly to what you said, like just if it just came out of nowhere, wouldn't have as much relevance as you described. It would have to have some context and some description as to why is it suddenly here.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
We plan to have some sort of description about, describing the mural itself once it's installed.
I guess my concern isn't so much the mural itself, right? It's a nice picture. It is part of the history of Watchung, right? I love that. But it's the story behind it, right? So if it was just a picture on a wall, that'd be one thing. But people start to dig and they see that background story, and then I start to get concerned that this is what we're teaching our children, that's something that's not factual. I would love for them to learn more about the facts of the history of Watchung, good, bad, or otherwise. So I'm all in support of that. Plus also, you're not going to get the widest viewership here, right? I mean, this is a school. It's really just the kids, their parents, a couple times a year, and the teachers. It's not open to the public. So
It is not open to the public, but this room has historically been a gathering place for many meetings and many get-togethers. And I think that the Valley View Auditorium in particular is probably one of the locations that would get some of the most views, actually, of all of our potential and possible locations that we've listed.
Sounds like we need more meeting spaces in the town.
Chris, could you just describe your interaction? You said that you had already reached out to the Lenni Lenape and they had expressed support for the project, for the restoration, and for the posting. So is that something that was in an email, or is that just verbal? Or what do you have?
So yeah, that was verbal several years ago. So I have a contact person that we can be in touch with for further detail on that. They described a little bit more of the background and the history of whether a mural like this, like whether a story like this was actually true or happened. They provided a little bit more information on that. So we can get a little bit more further clarification.
I think it was in the video when you
Yes.
were creating the video of the
Mhm.
mural, just the Lenni Lenape, and just what the Native Americans were experiencing when they lived here, and exactly how they, I guess, moved to different areas of
Mhm.
New Jersey and New York and Pennsylvania, right?
New York and New Jersey, PA.
Right.
Back to Dory's point, The library is not an option?
The library is not an option. There's no space in the current library for the mural.
It's 16 by what?
It's 16 feet long by 10 feet high. So most ceilings, as we know, are about 8 feet or so. So we need the additional 2 feet. This space in particular actually has the 10 feet that we need.
I just want to ask board members, and maybe this is just because I'm a teacher, can you please make sure you speak up into the microphone so that the person in the back of the room can hear you? Because I'm sitting near you and I can hardly hear what most of you are saying. So I'm not trying to be rude to any of you, but if you could just project, that would be great, because I see people in the back and they have no idea what most of you are saying at this point. So I'm sure the people who are watching the live feed of this can hear you more than them, but just make sure you project, okay?
Thank you, Mrs. Harvey. I would like to add, I do really like the idea of perhaps the historical committee talking with the administration at some point and talking about, like other districts I've worked in the area, usually like in June, kind of spend a week, whether you're teaching kindergarten or third grade, talking about the town, the history of the town, where is the library? Why is this named Mobus Field? It's nice, and I've done it with kindergartners, I've done it with third graders, and it's just really nice. It's kind of like a get to know your town kind of thing. And it's a nice, like as a teacher, like the end of the year, like you might be done and it's like, oh, let's talk about town. And it's a nice idea.
Mr. Alexis, it's questions for you. I think when you grew up here, right? You went through the school system in Watchung. I think at one point they did teach the history of Watchung in the schools. And I think you also had Mayor of the Day. And if you are mayor for a day, I think essays at one point.
You're gonna blow my cover here, Mr. Murad. I can't say I remember being taught the history of Watchung. We did have the officials for the day through the Optimist Club, and we had the mayor and the fire chief, the police chief, I forget who else, but then also the superintendent of schools. And so when this happened in my 8th grade class, I, of course, was trying to get like fire chief or mayor or whatever, get elected to one of those. And I got elected to be superintendent of schools. Who knew? So talk about history.
I can actually answer that, Amber. When I was in 3rd grade, I think we all had to do a project on Watchung as part of our 3rd grade curriculum. And I think I remember going to, I think it was the 2nd floor of the library at the time, where they had everything. I think it's since been relocated probably to the Texier house. But yeah, that is something that I remember doing back when I was at the schools.
We did it in my school system too. It was great.
Yeah, I think, I mean, even like telling young children about how that police station was blasted in over there in the net, like they'd be like, that's so cool. I just think I think it's nice.
And we also believe that this mural would be a very nice connection to Watchung history as kids go through the school system.
Are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you both.
Thank
you.
you.
For coming
We'll
this
be back
evening.
and we'll get a little bit further information from some of the tribes.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
I would just ask for a brief recess because there are refreshments for the staff that we're honoring tonight. Okay, we're gonna reconvene. If everyone can please start mosey on back to their seats.
Just Joe.
turn the AC. I'm gonna give him the signal. No, I don't want to get anything on it. No, I'm fine. Right, got a little heat in.
Okay, so back to you, George.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Harvey. Pierce is ready to give the principal's report.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pierce Winston, and I'm Valley View Student Council Co-Vice President. I am happy to present the Valley View Principal's Report for the month of May and June. The months of May and June were very busy ones at Valley View. Teacher Appreciation Week began on May 2nd. Our staff was treated to lunch from the Valley View Student Council, personalized messages of gratitude from our Community Outreach Club, and special treats provided by the PTO. Thank you to everyone who took the time to say thank you to our staff. It is greatly appreciated. On May 3rd, Dr. Mikey Fallon used humor, performance art, poetry, storytelling, psychology, theatrical monologues, and his personal journey to communicate the importance of getting to know someone before judging them. The Valley View Battle of the Books was held on Friday, May 6th. The winning teams were the Book Ninjas for grade 6 and the Book Warriors for grade 5. Congratulations to all of our readers. On May 12th, Arthur Gordon Coleman visited with our students to share his experiences as a published author since starting at age 13, the writing process and tidbits about his latest works. The young entrepreneurs at Valley View showcased their goods and services on May 19th at the Treps Marketplace. The young professionals, excited and driven, translated their interest into saleable products. They were all successful, managing to have fun and make some money at the same time. The Treps Club is sponsored by the Watchung Borough Youth Services Commission. The 6th graders enjoyed a trip to Patriot Stadium on May 18th. Students were able to compete the baseball statistics project by watching their favorite players and monitoring their baseball batting stats. Of course, the Valley View section cheered extra loud for our hometown player, Anthony Volpe. Student Council and Community Outreach joined forces to host a Spring Family Trivia Night. It was an exciting evening for all participants. We look forward to scheduling our next event for the fall. Students from our SOAR class qualified and competed in the Junior Solar Sprints Finals on May 23rd at New Providence Middle School. It was a great experience for our students. During the week of May 23rd, the students in grades 5th through 8th took the NJ SLA assessments in language arts and mathematics. Our chorus concert and art show were held on Tuesday, May 17th. It was followed by our band concert on May 24th. The student performances and creations were extremely impressive. Miss Morrison, Miss Esposito, and Miss Nestor did an excellent job supporting our students in showing off their talents. Our 5th, 6th, and 7th graders enjoyed active and exciting field days. The events were held both indoors and outdoors with Icy's grade level t-shirts and a Valley View sky dancer cheering them on. Thank you to our PTO, Mr. B, and Coach Leslie for helping make our field days a blast. On June 1st, parents of incoming 5th and 6th graders were invited to attend the Valley View Parent Orientation presentation. Attendees learned all about life at Valley View and were led on tours by our peer leaders. For anyone unable to attend, the presentation is posted on the Valley View website. The 5th grade DARE graduation was held on Thursday, June 2nd. Our DARE officers, Sheriff Zayton and Pete Kuvaz, planned the event with the 5th grade teachers. Students were chosen to introduce our guest, Police Chief Hart, and the winners of the DARE essay contest. Additional police officers and parents joined us for this annual celebration. The incoming 5th grade students had their turn learning about Valley View during the move-up day on June 3rd. Students visited classrooms and chatted with staff and students about all of the exciting changes they have to look forward to. This week, our 5th, 7th, and 8th graders enjoyed time away from Valley View during our field trips. 5th grade enjoyed some time in nature at the Great Swamp. The 7th graders extended their understanding of possible solutions for providing food in an environment where land and clean water are not abundant at the Battery Park Conservatory. The 8th grade students explored artifacts and interactive exhibits during the visit to the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum complex. Thank you to all who made these fun and educational experiences possible. Valley View's Day of Giving is scheduled for tomorrow, June 10th. During the event, students will participate in multiple activities that give back to our school, our greater community, and to the environment. As part of the day, the Community Outreach Club will hold its annual Miles for Smiles walkathon. Students pay $3 to walk around the Watchung Lake to show their support for the Watchung Rescue Squad. Next week, we will celebrate our 8th grade class with a barbecue, breakfast, and at the commencement ceremony on Wednesday, June 15th at 6 p.m. Information about summer reading and grade level classroom supply lists will be sent to families and posted on our website later this month. Our final day of school is Friday, June 17th. Valley View's Summer Pursuit of Excellence program will begin on July 5th and run through July 28th. Students will receive small group instructions in mathematics and language arts, and also supply their critical thinking skills while working on a cross-disciplinary unit on ancient civilizations. As we begin our summer, I would like to extend my gratitude to the Board of Education, staff, parents, students, and community members who continue to support us. I wish everyone a healthy and rejuvenating summer. Thank you, and have a good night.
Great job, Pierce. Thank you, and thank you for delivering those principals' reports all year. Have a great summer.
Hello,
Hello,
good
Mrs.
evening. Denise Fickner, principal. Good job, Pierce. I know that was a workout. All right, so in May and June at Bayberry, students ventured outside of Bayberry to go on a variety of exciting field trips that complemented the curriculum. Kindergarten and first grade visited Turtleback Zoo. Second grade explored Trailside Nature Center. Third grade went to the Environmental Education Center, and fourth grade learned about the American Revolution at the Liberty Hall Museum at Kean University. In lieu of a field trip, our preschool saw an engaging presentation by the Lizard Guy. Thank you to the PTO for their help in funding these activities. You can hear me okay? Yeah. The past couple of months has been an exciting time for our students with multiple performances and celebrations of their work. We started the month of May with the spectacular third grade recorder concert, followed by our second grade play, Pajama Party, led by Mrs. Riley. First graders and Mrs. Riley also gave us a sneak peek into music class by presenting spring songs, dances, and movement activities. That was actually today. On June 2nd, Mrs. Morrison and Mrs. Riley led our fourth grade farewell concert in a memorable performance. The band and chorus did a great job showcasing their skills and passion for music. The end of the concert was bittersweet as students performed the traditional Bayberry farewell song. There really wasn't a dry eye in the audience. Students, parents, and staff also enjoyed the memory video slideshow created by the PTO fourth grade committee. Our families were also treated with an impressive art show organized by Ms. Higgins. The Bayberry hallways came alive with our students' artwork and information about the artists that inspired the projects. During the first and second week of June, our students enjoyed field day with engaging activities planned by Mr. Primo and Ms. Tronalone. We also enjoyed having peer leaders from Valley View to run the activities. Thank you to the PTO for purchasing the t-shirts, wristbands, new games, ice pops, and air dancers, we think they're called, I'm not really sure, those floaty things. All of these things made the field days super special. We welcomed our incoming kindergarten students to Bayberry on May 24th for kindergarten visitation. It was really exciting to get back to this and to see our new families. Our future students worked with our teachers on a variety of fun activities while parents met in the APR to learn more about Bayberry from CPAG, WEF, PTO, and from me. Our fourth grade visited Valley View on June 3rd for middle school orientation. They enjoyed touring their new school, meeting the fifth grade teachers and their new principal. We had a special author visit on June 8th from Audrey Vernick, author of Bob Not Bob and other popular books. Students learned how to get ideas for writing and learned what it is like to be an author. Throughout the day, Bayberry staff also offered workshops on related topics to provide students with an immersive experience. Thank you to Ms. Heller, our reading specialist, for organizing this event and for the PTO for providing funds to make this special day possible. We will be wrapping up the school year with our end of year parties and our preschool and kindergarten move up ceremonies. I would like to wish everyone a safe and enjoyable summer. It has been a great year and we look forward to working with everyone next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fickner. Next, we'll have our presentation on our progress toward our district goals. Aaron, if you could just bring that presentation up and go to that second slide, the vision statement. Mr. Kraft referenced this earlier, and it really is at the core of everything that we're trying to do in the school district, in cultivating a culture of inquiry, equity, and collaboration. We take our responsibility to have that culture of inclusivity very seriously, and we believe in the importance of reflection and ethical decision-making as we all move forward and grow together. The next slide will give you a brief overview of what we're doing with this presentation. It is similar to the ones we delivered in November and also in February. We're going to have an update on student learning using the iReady diagnostic results from the spring. And Mrs. Fickner and Mrs. Kidd will take us through those data points. And then we also have the update on the progress toward our 4 district goals, and then next steps that we'll address. So if I could invite Mrs. Kidd and Mrs. Fickner forward, that would be wonderful. Mrs. Fickner, why don't you begin with the Bayberry data?
All right, so as you can see here, this is our reading overall end of year data and compared to the beginning of the year. So if you look at the green, we go from the beginning of the year, 50% in the green, mid or above, as well as early on grade level, to 81%, which is a 41% increase. That's quite good. Our yellow goes from 39 to 15, which is what we want. We want that to be decreasing, 24% decrease. And then our red, which is our 2 grade levels below or even 3 grade levels or below, go from 11 to 4%. Impressive growth in reading. And then this is divided by grade level. Similar patterns when you look at it by grade level. Significant growth for the green section. And then also if you look at the red, we do have several grade levels that significantly reduce the red, the 2 grade levels below. It's very hard to see there. Like our grade 1 goes from 7% in the red to 0. Grade 2, 15% to 3. Grade 3, 15 to 3. And our 4th grade actually has the more than 2 grade levels below, started at 8% and then went to 5. So that is really good growth in those areas. And our math, also some significant growth. We look at the green, we started at 32% and went to 77%, 45% growth. Yellow, 56% and went to 20%. Again, we want that to decrease. So that went from 36%, 36% decrease. And then our red, which is 2 grade levels below or even 3 grade levels below, went from 12 to 2%, which is really significant. And again, you can see similar patterns when you look at it by grade level. We have even more growth when you look at the red areas. I'm not going to read all that to you, but when you have a chance, if you wanted to look at the individual growth, it really was impressive for math.
okay. It's fine. I didn't print mine out because I forgot that I actually need glasses now. Hit that age. Basically, we saw the same trends at Valley View across reading and math. All of the grade levels showed dramatic growth. What I was looking for in particular were that our students that were at level were moving above grade level, and that our students that were below grade level were moving closer to or at grade level overall. And those are the trends that we saw. So we're very fortunate for that. You can see, thank you. Gosh, it's me or whatever. Okay, it is a little blurry. Okay, so you can see that, for example, for the beginning of the year, we had 21% of the students that were at grade level and 35 that were above grade level. We ended the year with 53 students above. So from 35 to 53 is a significant jump. To get out of percentages, it looks like we had 88 students above grade level, which jumped to 132 overall. So I think that says a lot about the performance of our students and how hard they've worked and how hard our staff has worked. Looking at below grade level, 2 to 3 grade levels below, we had 23 students, 2 grade levels below, and 24 separate students or additional students, 3 or more grade levels below, and we brought that significantly to 7 students and 14. So those are the jumps. That's the data that we were looking at. Oops, I took myself right out of it. Scroll down. Yep, there it is. Okay. So again, you see the same trend with the mathematics. Erin, could you go to the specific grade levels? Thanks. So again, what we do when the teachers get together as grade levels is, in their content areas, they take a deep dive at looking at the data to see if we could find trends. So you see here the overall trends of growth and what the number of kids that grew. What the teachers look at is specifically what areas. So they're looking at what areas of mathematics. Is it geometry? Is it algebraic expression? Is it number sense? What area are the kids having difficulty with? Which ones are they growing in the most? And then they sit and they talk about, well, how am I teaching that in my classroom? What strategies am I using? What resources am I using? You're having more success with this with your kids. What are you doing differently than mine? And that's the point of our professional learning communities that the teachers are in, is taking data such as iReady data and looking at instruction and resources and making decisions to enhance those experiences for the kids, meeting them where they are and taking them further. And we're going to continue that good work next year. Erin, there you go. So that's a little bit about personalized learning strategies. You jump in when you want to, is meeting the students where they are and then helping them grow. And iReady is a great tool because it gives us the diagnostic information, but it also creates those learning paths for students. And what a learning path is, it's a set of activities based on their performance in those individual areas of mathematics and language arts that they can visit independently and work on. And it can help strengthen their skills where they are. And those activities might be very different than the kids sitting to the left or to the right of them. What it also does is, like I said, it helps in those teacher professional conversations, and it also helps the teacher when she's planning her lessons. If I see that I have 5 kids that need extra help in this one area, I'm going to provide them the resources and the instruction. If I see I have kids that already know content, I'm not going to waste their time by teaching it to the whole class. I'm going to give them some extension, maybe challenge them a little bit. Another thing that we started to do this year was develop more student self-awareness and agency, showing them their data, helping them make choices, helping them set goals. These are all part of that personalized learning shift from just pure differentiation, where we're saying, okay, this group does this group does this group does this, to giving the kids more accountability and responsibility with their learning. I talked about using the data to design appropriate challenges, the paths. I think I did everything. And again, we want the kids to continue to be curious. We want them to develop a passion for learning. And as they see where they put the hard work, where their interests are, and the skills that they're building on, they get more excited about it. I actually never thought I'd see kids excited about diagnostic results before, but when they saw the growth of the areas they've been tracking, they really felt that's an accomplishment. I think that's my key, to be quiet and let Denise talk.
Yeah, so this personalized learning is something we're going to be exploring more next year and building upon things that we've been doing this year. When Mrs. Kidd was talking about, is it working? Okay. Developing student self-awareness and agency. This year, we had student data chats with the students when they took at each diagnostic, sit down with the students and talk about their results and what were their areas of strength or weakness, setting goals with students, tracking their progress, are all things that we're going to be exploring next year. Personalized learning also can mean things like student-led conferences, more student choice, even things like flexible seating can be personalized learning. So again, these are things we're going to be exploring. All right, should we go to the next one? Okay, so just a couple of points on the data. The student performance is measured against expectation created by historical iReady data. So here, today we're looking at the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and this is also something that, the students were excited about, but our teachers were really excited to do that comparison as well and see how much they grew. I actually did hear teachers in the hall saying, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe how much my students have grown." That was great to hear. And then the end of year data is measured also against iReady standardized expectations and compared with performance last fall. We also like to look at our iReady data against New Jersey and across the nation. That's also helpful to us. Oh, district goals. Oh, this, unless
Yeah, basically, this is just going to outline the presentation. So we'll start with the first one, of course, which involves innovative instruction, design thinking, and problem solving across the curriculum. We have a number of STEAM-related examples in the slides.
Okay, so question there, how are we advancing instruction for design thinking and problem solving, teaching and learning process, the classroom, after school clubs, field trips, and professional learning? So we're hitting this from all avenues. And here is the design thinking and problem solving approach, which we have been reviewing each presentation. Go ahead, next one. Oh, this is
Was first. So basically, this is a picture of our one of our SOAR teams. They participated in junior solar sprints earlier in the year. We had to do it virtually because the original trip to New Providence for the in-person solar sprint competition, which is making a solar powered car and racing it against each other, and it's judged on all different types of things. It was done virtually because of COVID. But one of our teams did make it to the finals, which they were able to hold in person. And I think that's on the board agenda to retroactively approve, because we were notified on a Friday afternoon that it was happening on a Monday morning. So this is our team. They did a great job. There's a picture of their car there. So it's just a great experience. I think this is the second year we've participated. So it's nice that our team made it to the finals. And our coding and robotics club, they got to try to create underwater robots. They were giving that design challenge for a circumstance in which they would need one. And you know that they got very creative with all of the ideas that they could have thought of why you would need an underwater robot. But then we gave them a kiddie pool and had them test out their designs. So this one worked and they were very proud of it. So I got called out into the courtyard after school to come see how it worked. We also did a lot of, extracurricular, but also during the day types of programming for students that anyone could be involved in. You didn't have to be in a special club or program. We had the trash and show, where students had to use recycled materials to create some type of fashion, whether it was clothing or accessories. We had our Treps Marketplace, which Pierce talked about earlier, where our young entrepreneurs had to look at an audience, figure out what they wanted to create, who they were creating it for, market it, create it, sell it, the whole 9 yards. And they did donate some of the, I think 5% of their proceeds to a charity, which was very nice. We had our battle of the books. We still encourage good old fashioned reading, hardcover books and softcover books at Valley View. So our 5th and 6th graders, all the classes competed, and then we did have our final battle. And again, I think Pierce shared our winners. Our science fair was a district-wide effort. We had teams of students that crossed grade levels. We had some siblings. And again, they got to pick their topic. It was their passion, it was their research, and then they were judged on their presentation. And then we also had our environmental club did some geocaching at Watchung Lake. And while they were there, they also saw some garbage and couldn't help themselves. They had to pick it up and dispose of it. So those are some more fun things that we've done this spring. Our field trips, I'm sure you've heard a lot about them. Hopefully, if your children got to go on them, they enjoyed them and were surprised at how fun a field trip actually is. It's been a few years since they've had the opportunity, so we're trying to make up for lost time. The Battery Conservatory was, Conservancy, sorry, was today. The 7th graders, I can tell you, were dreading it. It sounded like work, but they all had a great time. I got pictures of them. I wasn't allowed to go. I have pictures of them with wheelbarrows of dirt. They were doing mulch, they were doing planting. So they all know how to do landscaping now. So if anyone needs a landscaper, just grab a 7th grader. They're all experts. The Intrepid Sea, Air and Space Museum was a great treat. I know the adults were just dazzled by seeing a space shuttle in person. So hopefully the kids were as well. The Great Swamp, we learned the importance of bug spray after a rain the night before. But also they did get to see in person some frogs and other aquatic inhabitants that they probably would have walked right by in a stream in the backyard. And they also got to distinguish when a stream is healthy or not, how to determine the water quality, just by things like the smell, looking at the environment, looking at different indicators. So I thought that was very interesting. I learned a lot. That one I went on. And then of course, Somerset Patriots Stadium, besides enjoying a good old fashioned baseball game, they get to cheer for Mr. Volpe, a former student, and it is connected to a statistics project that they're doing in their 6th grade math classes, which is very nice. And now it's K2.
Okay, so for K2 with Mrs. Mills in STEM class, they're working on challenges created to solve real world problems, one called Shady Spot Challenge. So they were studying the sun's benefits and how it could also cause harm. And the students had to design and build a shady spot for a lizard made from ultraviolet beads. The other project was about buoyancy. Students have to design a flotation device to keep a doll afloat in a pool. Always fun and engaging things with Mrs. Mills. All right, so for grades 3 and 4, they worked on a hurricane house, and they did this as they were studying weather in 3rd grade. The students had to design a house to survive a hurricane, and they tested it with wind and water. And they also worked on spacecraft landing for National Space Day, studying aerospace engineering, and they had to design a spacecraft that can absorb the shock of landing on Mars for 2 astronauts. So always collaborative projects, always a real world connection, and of course, always fun. All right, so a little more for grades 3 and 4. They were continuing exploring design thinking through different websites and apps. There's one that is virtual breakout rooms. It's called Breakout EDU. It is problem solving, and they're virtual escape rooms. They're very popular. And then we have an Inventioneers app where they also have to solve problems for characters by creating inventions. And then they are doing some exploratory things with G Suite. All right, next. And they also have these stations. They love the robots, and there's only a few of them. So she always sets up stations where students can rotate through between robotics coding and Chromebook coding, and also the Lego wall. And this is you.
We were happy to bring our DARE program back to Valley View. It's going strong. Pierce shared a little bit about the 5th grade graduation. We have some assemblies. We had Dr. Mikey Fallon. He talked about the Harlem Wizards. There's a picture there. It's not just watching the players. The kids really do get involved. There you see all of our students grades 5 through 8 on the gym floor together with the wizards, leading them in some kind of dance. I tried it, it didn't work. And then also we had author visits. Again, we do love reading here too. The Day of Giving is scheduled for tomorrow, and the kids had such a great time last year with it, with the different activities. I feel like there was something that everyone enjoyed, that we are repeating it with new activities this year, and ending it with the walk around the lake, which we are also bringing back. Move Up Day, it was so nice to see the 5th graders in the building, and we are going to have an orientation for them again, open up the building for them so they can walk around at the end of August, right before school starts. Our second step lessons continue this spring. They've focused on resolving conflicts and taking responsibility for one's actions, all very appropriate for middle school. We continue our spirit activities, our digital citizenship lessons, and the school counselor meets with the 5th graders on a regular basis to go through those lessons with them also. For our staff, we shared a trauma toolkit for educators. Unfortunately, whether it's a world issue or a local issue or a personal issue of a student or a staff member, we try to give them as many resources as possible so they can deal with them and help support our students. We continue to have a health and wellness club for our teachers, whether that's giving them nutrition and fitness advice or just a partner to cry on their shoulder. We have monthly SEL calendars just to give suggestions of things we can do on a daily basis. Theme breakfast by our Sunshine Club, which is made up of staff members who sign up for every month to bring in food and decorate and just make it so when people walk in the morning, it's a little extra sunshine. And then we are continuing our restorative practices faculty book discussion. Restorative practice is a different way of looking at helping children recognize the choices that they make and how to lead them to make better choices.
Okay, so for Bayberry Social Emotional Learning, we are continuing our weekly SEL lessons. That is either ALS PALS or Second Step. We've also integrated with other subject areas as well. The kindergarten has been piloting something called a little spot of feelings, and that's the picture there. And it actually comes with these little plush, round little things that actually make feelings very tangible, visual for students. That was something kindergarten teachers noticed, that Second Step was filling a need, but there was a hole there in the feeling piece. Like, what is anger? What does it look like? So this actually helps students, like if they are angry or frustrated, just go and grab the feeling and identify the feeling so that then they can actually do something with those feelings. So we're hoping to implement that in some other grades going forward. Plus they're really, really cute. How can you be angry if the feeling looks like that? Then we have guidance services, lessons based on different needs. If the guidance counselor sees something's happening in a class or several classes, she'll go in and do a lesson. They started some lunch social skills groups. This was something we really noticed just watching students play at recess. Some of the social skills were lacking, conflict resolution, making friends. So the social skills group incorporate students that have model social skills and some that are lacking, and bring them together, play a game, go through a scenario. It's really very helpful. And it's only about 20 minutes and it's during their recess, and the kids actually do want to come. If they miss it, they get upset actually. So, and then she was dropping counseling and scheduled sessions as needed. The school transitions really, I think it's very helpful in the SEL, realm where we're talking about the 4th grade going to Valley View. So that really helps them with some of the anxiety and the fear of coming up here. So they've already had that, so it's not so scary. Same with kindergarten visitation. I think the students that came in, they were great about, we scooped them up and they went with the teacher. And then I took the parents in the other room, and it was great. And again, the parents got all their questions answered really early, so there's less anxiety. And the students got to see their potential classrooms really early and meet the teachers. So I think that really helps. All right, next one. these are some of the school-wide service projects we've been doing. If you have kids at Bayberry, I know you've been hearing about some of these. So Ms. Lemming's been doing a great job with her third grade early acts club. And a lot of these projects are school-wide. So the one that she did was an animal shelter collection and donated what they collected to the Plainfield Humane Society. This other one is going on right now, and the competition is fierce. Penny Wars. I don't know if you've heard about it, but if there is a coin shortage, this is why, okay? It is a lot of fun, and all the money raised is going to library books and possibly something else because she's raising so much money and the kids are so into it. Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. We were working on this heritage hallway as when you come into the foyer, the man trap, you can see some of the cultural heritage, cultural flags that the students did. They're really interesting. And then same with Valley View, the spirit activities and assemblies, the Harlem Wizards was a huge boost for everybody. So for our staff, just some activities that really not only increase staff wellness, but morale. And then even when morale is boosted, their health is also boosted. So we're doing staff breakfast through the Health and Wellness Committee. We did an Indian dance workshop, which not only got them moving and getting activity, but also shared a little something about Indian culture. It was very interesting. We did a yoga, stretching, and meditation. We have an activity going on Monday, which is optional, watercolors and apps. So it's painting with some appetizers. Something that really boosted staff morale was actually take your child to work day. It was super fun. The kids loved it. The staff loved it. My son's back there in the back. Yep. He will do anything to miss school. So I don't know if he really wanted to come to work with me, but and then our Sunshine Committee does a great job just to promote positive school culture and do little things and big things for the staff. We just had a bunch of donuts in the faculty room for National Donut Day. So these are just little surprises that are helpful. All right, so we're going to talk about culturally vibrant, inclusive school community and how are we ensuring this for both schools. I don't know if I'm
feel like yours is going to be very similar to mine. We celebrate as a district Special Education Week. CPAG was wonderful with providing, just recognition for the teachers, activities for the students. We did Spirit Days, Earth Week. The teachers were all given activities from our environmental club that were suggested by the kids for us to implement. Again, Spirit Days were implemented with that. The International Day of Families, our World Culture Club created a table and some activities, and they participated at the event that was held at Bayberry. And our art teacher put in place an artist trading card exchange, which was very interesting. We actually had not pen pals, but something similar, but with artist trading cards with another district in Pennsylvania. And the cards were supposed to share something about yourself, whether it was your heritage, your hobbies, or anything like that.
Yes, I do have a bunch of the same things that Karen talked about, so I won't talk about everything. So our staff were very excited to integrate the diverse texts that were donated by Watchung IDEA. Sorry. So again, those are picture books that represent a wide variety of cultures and ethnicity. We had Special Education Week, Autism Awareness Spirit Week. We had a celebration of International Day of Families. And one special day that we did for Spirit Week was Cultural Day, where students could wear something to represent their culture. It just sparked a lot of good conversation between teachers, between students and teachers. It was really a nice day. We also did on the morning announcements, I announced if any students know other languages to come down and say good morning in a different language. And I was really surprised at how many students actually knew different languages. So we're going to probably extend that next year and try to do that a little bit longer than just a week. Okay, and then these are some of our cultural arts assemblies from the PTO committee, the Indian dance workshop. We did that in physical education class for our students. They were really into it. You could see the class there. They were so cute. Integrated visual and performing arts for all. This was really great to see all the different performances that Mrs. Valley did and Mrs. Morrison and Ms. Higgins with the art show, that every student gets to perform. Every student gets a part in a play. The art show, every student's artwork is up there multiple times. So that is really nice to show that we have an inclusive school community. I think that's me.
Yeah, and these are just ways, we've talked about them before, ways that we have tried to create a more diverse staff. We've talked about joining CJ Pride. Now, will be our third year next year in the organization, but we have the annual job fair that the principals and Mr. Toda participate in. We've increased advertising and networking. And again, the principals and Mr. Toda have done a great job of recruiting. And I want to thank Ms. Hankowski for all her fine work in getting the postings out and reaching out to as many possible avenues as she could. We also have continued our relationship with the Watchung Idea Group, and I see Mrs. Sims is here tonight to talk a little bit after this presentation. And then these two committees I served on through the state organization for the school administrators. So Leadership Diversity Committee and our PD Seminar Committee was very focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout the year and different strategies for making a more inclusive community. So I've met a lot of superintendents, learned about the work they're doing, and also affirmed the fine work that we're doing here in the district. And last is the percentage of the new hires that we have brought to the district this year since July 1st. So this last full school year, 41% of the new hires have been diverse staff. And then, Mr. Pepe, why don't you talk just briefly about some of the financial progress?
All right, I'm watching out here. How, so we're going to talk, same as the last time we talked, how we're trying to meet the financial needs of the district. And right now, because of our focus on the referendum, that's a very big part of what we're thinking about. This year, we have the ad hoc committee that has started meeting and is providing some feedback to the operations committee that will be processed and hopefully come out with something that the whole community can get behind for a referendum. One of the things that is a challenge for us right now is our reserves are very low. I was at a conference actually today and drove back from the conference today, but I've had a lot of conversations with other business administrators from around the state. And this is a common theme is whenever I would ask questions about reserves, they all had more than we have. So this is something we really have to focus on is strategies for increasing our reserves, because that opens up doors for ways to take advantage of opportunities when they come. And then, of course, the budget process, which feeds into that. We're going to be continuing to tweak our budget process every year and try and find ways that we can really start to build those reserves back up.
The next slide is up. I get you've covered most of this. It's about the emphasis on the referendum, right? The ad hoc committee and strategies for increasing.
I thought that slide was up when I was talking.
Let's go to the next slide. So this is for more for the principals, but just as a brief overview, I think they kind of touched on all of this. And when we talk about a personalized learning approach, we're talking about developing strategies that we can implement. And we've begun that fine work, and we want to continue it next year with a real focus. And not that we are, overhauling the instructional program. We're doing it with these strategies to balance our other strategies with differentiated instruction and all of the other work that we do to instill a sense of inquiry in our students and in our learning community. We are going to make professional learning and resources for these strategies available throughout the year, particularly at the beginning of the year. And we also are working on developing enrichment activities that create appropriate challenges so that there are extension activities available for teachers in the classrooms. And there are ways to reach not only our learners that need extra attention, but also the ones who are the very high ability students who need increased challenges. And as Mrs. Fichtner and Mrs. Kidd mentioned, we're looking at different scheduling options and strategies for intervention and enrichment. One of the things we've talked about through the curriculum committee is about the moving to the electives for the 7th and 8th grade students, again, involving personal choice and helping students find their passions and their pathways. But also that idea of developing student agency and student self-awareness so that they understand what they're good at, what their strengths are, what areas they need to grow in, and how they can forge a path forward, how they can set their own goals. We did a little bit of that with iReady and actual setting goals with data. We can do that in other ways also that we'll be experimenting with next year. And we continue our district pursuit of excellence after school program and also our summer program with that respect. Social emotional learning, again, I think they covered this, but these are the next steps that we're going to continue with this. The second step program is working very well. We're always looking for ways to help instill a sense of empathy in students because it adds to the climate and culture of inclusivity and belonging. And we're going to continue that work. We're going to continue the professional learning for staff and the next mark training that Mr. Toda has brought into the district, as well as strategies to address challenging behaviors. We will continue with the staff SEL buddies, as the principals talked about. That has done, that has worked out very well for the staff. It's boosted morale, and and when your morale is high, your well-being is high too. So we will continue the celebration of diverse groups through the school spirit events, but also find ways to continue developing global citizens here in our community. And again, along those lines, the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, we're going to continue the celebrations. We're going to continue the learning experiences. We're going to continue the field trips and special events. But we're also going to be embedding that into the curriculum writing and making sure that we are teaching kids about the importance of living in a global society. Okay. And next, and Mr. Pepe pretty much covered the financial needs and the work that we're going to continue to do and the importance of increasing those building reserves. And also he's been very good at finding cost savings plans that will continue to help us save money and increase our efficiency. And at the next board meeting, when we have the board retreat, we'll be talking about the district goals for next year and continuing a lot of this very good work. I want to thank the principals and Mr. Toda and Mr. Pepe, of course, for all their hard work, because they deserve the credit for all this work, along with the staff who is doing a great job working with our kids in the classroom and in our after-school programs and activities. Thanks for your patience. That was a long one.
Are there any questions from board members?
You sure you want to go?
Sure you have to resign. Oh, I'm sorry. I lost track of that long presentation. The final thing on the agenda is the enrollment, and we're at 641. That's an increase. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, Mr. Toda. I forgot. We have Mr. Toda. Mr. Toda has two brief presentations for us. It's a long section today.
I'll be brief, I promise. Okay. Tonight I have, oh, you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Tonight I have the HIB district and school grade report for the school year 2020-2021. and the special education annual public reporting of local district performance for the school year 2020-21. I'll start with the HIB district and school grade report. This is the school self-assessment for determining grades under the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights Act. So each of the schools worked to use the rubric in each of the categories to assign scores. In the areas of HIB programs, approaches, or other initiatives, training on the Board of Education approved HIB policy, other staff instruction and training programs, curriculum and instruction on HIB and related information and skills, HIB personnel, school level HIB incident reporting procedures, HIB investigation procedures, HIB reporting. And for each school, the self-assessed score for this 2020-21 was a 71 out of 78. And from that information and from looking through all of the questions that were asked, it was determined that the district and the schools have conscientiously implemented the requirements found in the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights Act by training staff, school personnel, and parents, forming a school safety team, continuing the character education programming, and planning assemblies and activities that are related to anti-bullying and character education. The district and schools have made progress in addressing and improving harassment, intimidation, and bullying, and the school climate and culture by participating in the Week of Respect, highlighting anti-bullying with posters, signs, and bulletin boards, and providing individual counseling and conflict resolution sessions. And while completing the self-assessment, the district learned that our district and schools have strengths in the areas of programming, instruction, staff training, reporting procedures, and school safety teams. And the self-assessment helped us identify the following areas for improvement. And those would be fostering pro-social interactions between students and the implementation of diversity training to increase sensitivity to others. The 2020-21 HIB district and school grade report is posted on the district website if anyone would like to look at it further. And the special education annual public reporting of local district performance for the school year 2020-2021. These are those 14 indicators that we review yearly. This information is provided by the Department of Education to educators and parents on the outcomes of students with disabilities. So indicator 1 looks at graduation rates, the percent of youth with IEPs that are graduating from high school with a regular diploma. Since we are a pre-K to 8 district, this indicator does not apply to us, so our score for this one is an NA. Indicator 2 looks at dropout rates, the percent of youth with IEPs who are dropping out of high school. And again, this doesn't apply to us, so our score is an NA. Indicator 3, this is different than other years too, looks at assessment and performance, but due to the cancellation of the statewide assessments in 2019-20 and 2020-21 and federal waivers as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, statewide assessment results for the NJSLA and related accountability measures are not available and will not be reported for the school year 2020-21. Indicator 4A looks at the rate of suspension and expulsion. Was the district identified by the Department of Education as having a significant discrepancy in the rate of suspensions and expulsions of greater than 10 days in 2019-20 for children with IEPs compared to children without IEPs? And we were not. Indicator 4B looks at the rate of suspensions and expulsions in terms of compliance. Did the school district have a significant discrepancy by race or ethnicity in the rate of suspensions and expulsions of greater than 10 days in 2019-20 for children with IEPs? And the answer was no. And did the school district have policies, procedures, or practices that contribute to significant discrepancy and do not comply with requirements relating to the development and implementation of IEPs, the use of positive behavioral interventions and supports and procedural safeguards? And the answer was no. In indicator 5, we're looking at school age LRE, or least restrictive environments. And the question was the percent of children with IEPs age 5 who were enrolled in kindergarten and students age 6 through 21 who are served inside the regular education class for 80% or more of the day. The state target is 45%, and our local data was 61.39%, so we met the state target. Indicator 5 also asked the percent of children with IEPs age 5 who were enrolled in kindergarten and age 6 through 21 served inside the regular education less than 40% of the day. The state target was 14.75%. Our local data was 4.95%, and we met the target. I feel like I skipped one. Nope, here we go. Percent of children with IEPs age 5 who were enrolled in kindergarten and age 6 through 21 served in public or private separate schools, residential placements, or homebound or hospital placements. The state target was 6.75%. Our local data was 5.94%, so we met the state target. Indicator 6 is looking at preschool least restrictive environment performance. The percent of children with IEPs age 3 through 5 who were enrolled in a preschool program, attending a regular early childhood program, and receiving most of their special education and related services in the regular early childhood program. The state target is 47%, and our local data was 62.5%, so we met the state target. Indicator 6 also looked at the percent of children with IEPs age 3 through 5 who were enrolled in a preschool program and attending a separate special education class, separate school or residential facility. The state target was 38.75%, and our local data was 37.5%, so we met that state target. Indicator 6 was also looking at the percent of children with IEPs age 3 through 5 who were enrolled in a preschool program and receiving special education and related services in the home. The state target was 0.19%, and our local data was 0%. So we met that. Oh, we got an NA for that state target. So indicator 7, preschool outcomes. Because we have such a small sample size, our district level data cannot be publicly reported for that indicator. In indicator 8, parent involvement, the percent of parents with a child receiving special education services who report that school facilitated parent involvement as a means of improving services and results for children with disabilities. The state target is an 85% for the 2020-21 school year. Our district was not in the cohort where our parents were asked this information. That's done on a rotating basis, and it was not our turn to be in the cohort that year. Indicator 9, disproportionality. Did the New Jersey Department of Education identify the school district for disproportionate representation of racial and ethnic groups in special education and related services that is the result of inappropriate identification? And we did not. Indicator 10, disproportionality. Did the New Jersey Department of Education identify the school district for disproportionate representation of racial and ethnic groups in specific disability categories that is the result of inappropriate identification? And we did not. Indicator 11, effective general supervision. The percent of children in 2020-21 who were evaluated within the state established timeline of 90 days from the date of parent consent for initial evaluation. The state target is 100%, and our local data for last year was 100%. So we met the target that the state set. Indicator 12, early childhood transition. The percent of children referred by Part C, which is early intervention before the age of 3, who were found eligible for Part B, which is our preschool program, and who had an IEP developed and implemented by their 3rd birthday in 2020-21. The state target was 100%, and our local data was 100%, so we met the state target. Indicator 13 and 14 both do not apply to us because, again, we're a pre-K to 8 district. So indicator 13 is secondary transition, looking at incorporating youth age 16 and above with IEPs into a variety of activities there. And indicator 13, post-secondary transition outcomes. The state target for both, right, did you flip? The state target for both is 100%, but that doesn't apply to us because our kids aren't that old and leaving high school. That's all.
Thanks, Ms.
Thank you.
Dakota. Okay, thank you very much, Nicole. And last, as I was mentioning, the district enrollment stands at 641, 25 more students than we had at the beginning of the year. That's all for this very long section of superintendent remarks tonight.
Okay, we're going to move on to committee reports. Kevin, can you please give the HR committee report?
Yes, thanks, Dory. The HR and Personnel Committee met on Tuesday, June 7th at 4:30 p.m. Present were myself, Jen Scharf, Dory Harvey, and Mr. Alexis. We discussed tech restructure, and basically this was a cost savings proposal to reduce our outside consultant contract for tech services, which should save us some money, and we're going to, I guess, rearrange slightly the in-house tech position to expand those responsibilities. And the committee was in favor of this approach. We also discussed overall staffing needs. Mr. Alexis reviewed the current open positions with the committee and advised that we have a special education teacher on for approval for this meeting. There are a number of board items for June. I think most of them are on for this agenda. Some might be on for the next. But we discussed CJ Pride membership renewal for 2022 to 2023, authorization to hire staff over the summer, approve certificated staff for extracurricular duties, approve certificated staff as home instructors, approve health services coordinator stipend, appoint co-curricular at Bayberry and Valley View Revised, this is a revision for the science fair, appoint program coordinator for before and after care, approve summer curriculum writing, which is going to be on the next agenda, I believe, approve summer hours for Valley View counselor, approve summer Title I staff revised, approve special education staff for the 2022 extended school year program, approve special education assistant staff for the 2022 extended school year program, approve related services for the 2022 extended school year program, approve staff for summer evaluations, case management, approve before and after care ESY staff, approve administrative leave, approve medical leaves, approve leaves of absences, establish ESL/WL position at Bayberry and appoint current staff, change of assignments for Bayberry, accepting resignations, appoint district substitute coordinators. That's going to be on the next agenda. Appoint student information system liaison, summer 2022. That's going to be on the next agenda too. Approve volunteers for ESY and Title I summer programs, approve therapy dogs, and I see one in the audience over there who looks very cute. Approve retroactive curriculum writing, appoint new special education teacher. And then we also had, the committee was in favor of all of the above reference items. We also had some new business. Mr. Alexis shared the mayor's request regarding the canoe regatta. And the committee also suggested that shared special education services with regional districts be explored by the policy committee. I believe that came up at our last meeting, our last public meeting. There were some questions about it, and we decided that we should look into that more. And finally, Mrs. Harvey gave an update on the referendum ad hoc committee, and that's it.
Thank you, Kevin. Joe, can you please give the Operations Finance Committee report, the Ad hoc Committee report, and the Policy Committee report?
Sure, I'll try to be brief. So June 1st, we had the Operations Committee, Wednesday. It included myself, Mr. Ingracia, Mr. McDonald, Ms. Harvey, and Mr. Alexis. The first part of the meeting discussed the ad hoc committee. The committee members discussed the feedback from the ad hoc committee, including a request to tour the facilities. The committee asked the administration to determine the cost of having various representatives as part of the walkthrough, including DLB Associates and DRG Architects as part of the tour if necessary. The committee then discussed the administration's report regarding the projects that may be capable of being completed over the summer with existing resources. The discussion included a review of which projects also would be eligible for debt service aid, effective use of capital, and the custodial and maintenance staffing availability and/or shortages and possible donations from various groups, including the PTO, to help facilitate. Agenda items that are on the agenda tonight were discussed, so I won't go into detail. You can see them for yourself. And lastly, the Phillips Field lease and shared services agreement was discussed. As part of the discussions, it's still ongoing with the Watchung Little League, and the administration is waiting for additional information from the Little League to ultimately make a determination and finalization of that agreement. I will now dovetail into the ad hoc referendum committee meeting, which took place on Tuesday, May 23rd. Members included Mr. Buccarelli, Ms. Harvey, Mr. Ingracia, Mr. McDonald, as well as Mr. Alexis. Mr. Buccarelli provided a brief overview of the agenda and announced the DLB associates would not be able to attend the committee meeting and that they would attend the next meeting for independent engineer report and information. The draft mission statement was revised. Originally, it was to inspire confidence and generate excitement around a world-class referendum designed to provide the schools with the necessary resources for producing the best possible student outcomes. World-class was removed and replaced with high quality and fiscally responsible. As part of business, Mr. Buccarelli asked for feedback from committee members on the projects list from the prior referendum. During the discussion, members also shared perspectives on effective communication with the community regarding the projects, means of soliciting input from the community members, and strategies to make information more easily accessible, and marketing strategies focused on trying projects that are of educational value. What was also discussed was the possibility of a town survey as part of the referendum, and that is still ongoing discussion with regard to whether that should or should not move forward if the committee so determines. Lastly, the policy committee was held on this past Monday, June 6th. During the policy committee meeting, firstly, we discussed new or amended policies and regulations which were in the agenda tonight. These are required, mostly, not all, but are required to be updated as part of mandatory state regulations and policy updates. All of them are non-substantive. They have to do with minor edits, such as referencing different statutes that had to be updated as part of the law. So there's really not much to say about that. The other half of the meeting was spent pursuant to past discussions we had at board meetings regarding the methodology of the venue for our board meetings. Obviously, we're post-COVID having them in person, but if you recall, we were also tasked with determining remote options as part of alternatives. So based upon the research and information provided by Mr. Alexis and the staff, and thank you for that, there's several options that we have. There's not enough board members this evening to fully go through a vote or address the possibilities. We, as a committee, will present those possibilities during the course of the month and then have a vote on it in the next board meeting. But in essence, a few things just to highlight. One aspect was the live streaming. We do that currently. Most districts do that, so we're pretty materially in line there. With regard to obviously in-person meetings, post-COVID, everyone is in-person meetings from a school district perspective. And of course, individuals in the community can attend and provide commentary in person. So the question really becomes the remote access for purposes of community input. And that's where it was very mixed, and that's what we'll vote on in the next meeting. To summarize very quickly, option one is certain districts don't allow for it. It's just live streaming, and then the community can attend in person. Certain districts do the opposite. They have the in-person meetings, but they allow individuals in the community to fully participate in terms of commentary, as we did during COVID when we were quarantined. And then other districts have a hybrid model where they have obviously the in-person, but have a little bit more restrictiveness in terms of the participation, where there's some administration and queuing of individuals that choose to participate for commentary. It's not a full-blown control, but it does provide some queuing, if you will, of participants and validation in that nature. So we'll discuss that at the next meeting.
Thank you, Joe. I'll give the curriculum committee report. So the members in attendance were Rita, Jen, and myself. For the administration, it was Mr. Alexis, Mrs. Datota, Mrs. Kidd, and Mrs. Fickner. We went over the presentation on the district progress towards the goals, and the committee offered some feedback. The committee also asked about the efforts to support the staff, and the principals shared positive experiences. The committee was in favor of the approaches and pleased with the appreciation events. Then we went into the summer curriculum writing. The curriculum writing is being planned at both schools. At Valley View, the work will include social studies, visual performing arts, PE/health, ELA, 7 to 8, and prospective electives for grade 7 and 8. And then at Bayberry, teachers will work on social studies, visual arts, PE/health, SOAR extension lessons for classrooms, and textbooks for social studies at both schools will be adopted to support the new curriculum. There is the Valley View Adventure Club, which was attached, and the committee was in favor of the proposed club. The initial scale is projected at 15 to 20 students. And for our community who's not necessarily sure what that is, the purpose of the adventure program will be designed to introduce and explore the world of adventure through hiking, climbing, backpacking, and team building. And the club will emphasize the need to find outlets in life that allow for time to disconnect. The positive environment will not only focus on recreational activities, but also include guided discussions on opportunities to build deeper meaning from the day. The mix of physical activities and social emotional learning will build friendships, create trust among peers, and reinforce crucial life skills. So definitely look out for that. We also discussed the approved rescheduled Valley View field trip, a rescheduled STEM field trip to New Providence High School. This was previously reported to the board. The special services updates, the state's annual report on special education performance indicators were presented this evening, as well as the HIP report card. The ESY staff also will be on for approval, which I believe Kevin mentioned, and will include an intern and several volunteers, woodworking and tech. CPAG, it was mentioned that CPAG wants to donate some money to both schools, and this is DATOTA is going to work with both groups to identify the appropriate use of those funds. End of the year activities and promotion ceremonies. We were updated on those at Bayberry. An author visit sponsored by the PTO will take place yesterday. And the first grade musical showcase is coming up tonight. It's today, right? Okay. And the awards assembly and fourth grade clap out is scheduled for, is it still scheduled for June 16th? That's what I have here. Okay, so it's June 16th for the those events. And the first field day took place that week, and the art show and fourth grade concerts, which all of these have been reported on as well. So I'm gonna skip over some of those because you've heard all those a lot. Then we went into the accelerated math at Valley View. So we went over summer resources for students who are moving into an accelerated level from a regular level. Prerequisite revisions, the intent of the revision is to improve the accuracy of the teacher recommendations and find the most suitable placements for students. Currently, the overall marking period grade is used as one of the indicators. The revised approach would modify that indicator to place more emphasis on course assessment scores. Principal Kidd also explained a modest change to the daily flex time period to no longer require students to attend an extra math class once per 4-day cycle. Students now have a choice of on where to go for that extra help during that 30-minute period. This also will free up the math teachers to work with other students during that period. It is consistent with the district philosophy of personalizing learning and developing student agency. We did go over some new business, the training for the BBRA teachers. Teachers are provided with ongoing training for staff through NextMarks models on autism and MUJC workshops. The therapy dog, which is planned for the ESY. And even though I know that's not on here, I think we did ask if the therapy dog or any animals could continue throughout the school year. So Mr. Alexis said he would look into that. Field trips to SCES for Valley View students. They have a ShopRite, auto shop, woodworking shop for future consideration. The Director of Special Services has looked into this previously and is developing a plan for current students. Shared special ed services among sending districts. We said we were kind of running out of time, so we were going to discuss that at a future meeting. Accepting tuition students, we did refer that to the policy committee. Negotiated tuitions to send received students within sending districts and our other districts. We left for further discussion, and then I provided an update on the referendum ad hoc committee. So that was about it. Okay, so board liaison reports. Kevin, is there anything as the legislative liaison?
Nothing for tonight, Dory. Thanks.
Okay, great. Somerset County Ed Services Commission, Jen.
None at this time. I was unable to attend.
Okay, and Somerset County School Boards Association, Amber?
There's nothing to report, but there's a session that's on Monday, June 13th. This is regarding school safety. It's from 9 to 11:30 a.m. So if anyone's interested, please sign up. It's on the NJSBA website. I will be attending it.
Okay, great. And for the New Jersey School Boards Association, there is still an upcoming event tomorrow, the New Jersey School Board's virtual school public relations forum. There are some webinars on there using comparative data. Another one, the Board of Ed President / Superintendent Team Leadership Meeting that needs, meeting the needs of their district. There is another one, solutions-based PD to support your community of learners. They're all available for everyone to review. And then finally, another reminder that we will have our board goal setting occur during the June 23rd board meeting, which is our next meeting, in which we will have our board retreat. We have the topic of board goals listed under the board business this evening to discuss. So I hope all came prepared again to discuss that and offer ideas of goals and how to measure them. I will send all suggestions given to Gwen Thornton, our NJSBA representative, since she is the moderator for the board retreat. I have an update from Gwen on the goals that were suggested at our last board meeting, which I will give, it's very brief, just so you know, during our discussion on board business. And board members should also remember to please complete the board self-evaluation by Friday, June 17th. Okay, so community engagement. Is there anyone here from the PTO to give us an update? Is there anyone here from WEF? CPAG? Watchung Idea?
So good evening, all. Tynesha Sims, co-founder of the Watchung Idea Committee. I just have a couple of points to update. I just want to say thank you to Ms. Kidd and Ms. Fickner for participating in the International Day of Families the week leading up to our event and the week after. Just some highlights. In Valley View, I do volunteer on Thursdays for PTO lunch sales and the multicultural club that's ran by Ms. Starr. She had a couple of students come and help us out during snack sales where they were able to speak in different languages, whether it was French, whether it was Spanish. And it was really cool to see the kids kind of interact and try to communicate back. So that was a really good and fun idea. I know that Ms. Fickner had a full week plan in addition to the salutations and good mornings in the in different languages during the announcements, which is pretty cool. And it's a nice way of really diversifying and showing some inclusivity to the kids. And then we had our event, even though it was raining, in Bayberry, we did still have a good turnout from the families, and it was fun to learn our neighbors and their culture. So we had some Costa Rica, we had India, we had some representation from the Middle East, African American, obviously, and we also had the Multicultural Club, which had a variety of diverse displayed either literature or little artifacts that you can kind of touch and feel and kind of have a conversation about. So it was a good turnout in addition to the Food Truck Friday. So that was a great combination and looking forward to doing that again next year. And then we have our second annual Juneteenth celebration, which is now a US national holiday. And it's officially called Juneteenth National Independence Day. And for those that don't know, this is commemorating the emancipation of enslaved African Americans that happened on June 19th, 1865 in Galveston, Texas. This will be our second annual event, and it will be held on June 18th at Mobus Field. So if you are interested in coming out, or if you're available, please stop by. Or if you want to participate, please feel free. Last year, if you were there, or if you weren't, we had African dance, and they did get crowd participation. So come ready with your dancer shoes on. And a lot of fun. And that's it. So I just want to wish everybody a healthy, safe, and amazing summer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go on to comments from the public on agenda items. We welcome input from the public. There are 2 times during the meeting when the public is invited to speak. The first opportunity to comment on agenda items only is now. The second opportunity for public comment is towards the end of the meeting. Total time allotted for public comment is 30 minutes. Before you make your comment, please state your name and address. In the event it appears the public comment portion of the meeting may exceed 30 minutes, the presiding officer may limit each statement made by a participant to 3 minutes duration. Comments submitted to the board secretary prior to the meeting will be read first. Our public forums are not structured as a question and answer session, but rather are offered as opportunities to share input with the board. In instances where the board feels a response is needed, the presiding officer or superintendent will address the comment. New Jersey statutes do not permit the board to discuss personnel or hiring in public session. Names of students should not be used. Members of the public should consider their comments in light of legal rights of those affected and identified in their comments, and be aware that they are personally legally responsible with potential liability for comments that they make to the board. The board shall not be held liable for comments made by members of the public. Are there any comments on agenda items? Okay, so we're going to move on to action items. I am going to pull A4 from the agenda, which is to approve donation of the installation of the Legend of Watchung. So Amber, can you please move all of the administrative items except for A4?
I move A1, approve minutes of previous meetings. A2, approve placement of special education students. A3, approve placement for special education student ESY 2022. A5, affirm superintendent's HIP report. A6, affirm superintendent's HIP report. A7, affirm superintendent's HIP report. A8, affirm superintendent's HIP report. A9, affirm superintendent HIP report.
Is there any discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Barbella,
Yes.
Mr. Ingracia,
Yes.
that was a yes. Mr. Kraft,
Yes.
that was a very loud yes. Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mrs. Murad,
Yes.
Mrs. Scharf,
Yes.
Mrs. Harvey,
Yes to all except for A5 to A9. I am abstaining due to a conflict.
okay, with the abstention, the motion still all pass.
Okay. Personnel, Kevin, can you please move those items?
Yes, I move personnel items. B1, appoint special education teacher, Valley View School. B2, CJ Pride membership renewal. B3, authorization to hire staff. B4, approve certificated staff for extracurricular duties. B5, appoint certificated staff as home instructors. B6, approve health services coordinator stipend. B7, appoint Bayberry co-curricular revised. B8, appoint Valley View co-curricular revised. B9, appoint summer program coordinator for before/aftercare. B10, approve ESY before/aftercare staff. B11, approve curriculum writing retroactively. B12, approve summer hours for Valley View counselor. B13, appoint 2022 summer Title I summer program staff revised. B14, approve special education and related arts staff for the 2022 extended school year program. B15, approve special education assistant staff for the 2022 extended school year program. B16, approve related services for the 2022 extended school year program. B17, approve child study team members for summer 2022 evaluations/case management. B18, approve volunteers for the 2022 ESY and Title I summer programs. B19, approve therapy dogs for the 2022 ESY and Title I summer programs. B20, approve administrative leave. B21, approve medical leave. B22, approve medical leave. B23, approve extended leave of absence, Bayberry Elementary School teacher. B24, establish the following Bayberry ESL/world language position and appoint staff. B25, change of assignment, Bayberry School. B26, accept resignation, and B27, accept resignation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Barbella,
Yes.
Mr. Ingracia,
Yes.
Mr. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mrs. Murad,
Yes.
Mrs. Sharf,
Yes.
Mrs. Harvey.
Yes.
Motion's pass, all 27 of them.
Okay. Joe, can you please move operation items?
Sure. Move C1, approve payment of bills. C2, approve transfer of funds 21, 22. C3, accept financial reports. C4, reasonable and customary rates for independent educational evaluations. C5, approve annual maintenance service agreements. C6, approve interlocal shared services agreement between Watchung Borough Board of Education and Morris Union Jointure Commission for vehicle maintenance for the 22-23 school year. C7, approve gov deals for sale of surplus property. C8, authorize sale of surplus and/or outdated property. C9, accept donation from the Watchung CPAC. C10, accept donation from the Fanwood Watchung Crushed Stone Company. C11, accept donation from Rising Stars Dance Company. C12, approve addendum to extend agreements with ESS Northeast LLC. C13, approve addendum to extend agreements with ESS Support Services. C14, approve professional travel and related expenses.
Is there a second?
Sorry.
Any discussion?
I guess I'd just like to ask Rich, Mr. Pepe, if, with the capital reserve account, just in the attachment 5 report, the front page, we have the capital reserves at the 1,077,000. And then the next second page, it describes that as the capital reserve at 1,375,000 minus the 298,000 budget withdrawal from the capital reserve at the one that to get us to that 1,077,000 number, right? So this is up to April, right? So we have the new budget that came through is reflecting a sectioning off of some of those funds, right, to in case of any issues. So that's not reflected in this for that reason. Or is it
Right, that's not reflected because that's for the 2022, 2023 school year. So that won't be reflected until at least July, and sometimes there's a lag for when it hits the accounting software.
Right. All right, I just wanted to touch base on that because we've been talking about that pretty frequently. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Barbella,
Yes.
Mr. Ingracia,
Yes.
Mr. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mrs. Murad,
Yes.
Mrs. Sharf,
Yes.
Mrs. Harvey,
Yes.
motion's passed.
Adam, can you please move curriculum items?
Sure. I'd like to move D1 Valley View Adventure Club program and D2 approve retroactively rescheduled Valley View field trip.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Barbella,
Yes.
Mr. Ingracia,
Yes.
Mr. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mrs. Murad,
Yes.
Mrs. Sharf,
Yes.
Mrs. Harvey,
Yes.
motion's passed.
Joe, can you please move policy item?
Sure. A move E1, approve policies and regulations for first read. E2, abolish policy.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Barbella,
Yes.
Mr. Ingracia,
Yes.
Mr. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mrs. Murad,
Yes.
Mrs. Sharf,
Yes.
Mrs. Harvey,
Yes.
motion's passed.
Okay, so we'll go on to board business. The topic we have to discuss are the board goals. The brief update that I have, I did provide Ms. Sorton the suggestions so far, and some I actually received in writing. So it just obviously at the board retreat, it depends on what the board wants, but I did give her goal number 1 that we still have for the 21-22 school year, which was to engage in professional development as a board, work towards the elimination of inherent bias, promote equity and inclusion to ensure a school climate where all students can succeed. I let her know that a board goal of the referendum was brought up, and there were others for academic and differentiated learning. She did stress that that is a district goal, not a board goal. Anything that deals with academics and how our staff teaches students. So just keep that in mind. And then I did receive one about promoting kindness with the idea of working respectfully and holding ourselves to the same standards that we hold the students. So I did give that one to her. She didn't say anything about that one yet, so we'll probably discuss that one more at the board retreat. There was another one that Gwen and I discussed just by thinking about some of the confusion that sometimes seems to happen between us as board members. So we discussed that it might be a good idea for the board to consider us developing in writing our board norms, right? Of how we communicate with each other, the process of communicating with the superintendent, what are the protocols to follow? So we do have bylaws which we work with, but the suggestion was to kind of beef up our bylaws. So obviously along the way, policy would be involved in this. And then also maybe establishing times during board business at our meetings for us to discuss these topics so that they're decided on together as a board. There are some norms that are just inherent to boards. And if we need Gwen to come in and help us with that during these discussions, We just have to plan ahead of time to invite her to our meetings because her schedule does fill up rather quickly. So that was another one that we discussed, but I'll open it up to anybody who has anything that they might want to add that I can send to her. The floor is open for each board member to talk.
I'd like to bring up the subject of our 5-year strategic plan and just to touch on that as a board goal, to look at the updating that plan.
I'd like to add just fiscal accountability and communications, and that's within just the board itself, within the district as well. I think one of the board's primary function is a direct oversight of the district's budget. So with emphasis on communicating the district's financial stability and fiscally responsible choices that support educational excellence. I think this is important if we can do that, especially with the referendum and then the other needs that we have for the future of the district. I think the way that can be measured is just how much we communicate those needs with the public and within our own board.
Do you think that could be incorporated into the referendum goal?
Sure.
Anyone else? No? All right. So I'll submit those to her so she knows, and I'll also remind her to provide us with the information of the board of a whole ahead of time. She knows this, but I'll just remind her just in case. And I didn't receive any requests from any board members for any other board business to be discussed tonight, but is there any other board business to discuss?
I do actually, real quick. This came from, I was going to, that's why I had called you, because I was going to mention it, and I'm sorry to call you last minute today. I was going to mention this during our policy meeting, but it slipped my mind. Since we did pass a policy to work with law enforcement agencies, the one thing that we have done in the district, and the principals have, said that there's different projects and programs that you have local law enforcement and just agencies come in. So we have our fire department, they'll come in. You have your police that comes in, the EMS, they're walking around the lake for them to help that and create that environment where we're working as a team and as a community. I think just a suggestion for the district and the administration is that I would like to see more just our fire, police, and EMS come here and engage with the children so that these faces are familiar and they start at this age. So if they have a problem, they know who to go to and how to address it. And it's not the first time they're seeing somebody is when they're getting pulled over when they're driving. It's more of something that we're creating or building up, and we're teaching them this is how, the parents know, the teachers know, the students know, and then the first responders in our town know them, and it becomes a community. And as they grow older, they can look after each other. And it's like, I think something like that and building towards that is important. Just more often. I know, like, we do it here and there, we sprinkle it, but just a little bit more.
I'm
involvement.
just looking at George because I think we might do some of those things already. I remember
Well,
the
we do,
police
right?
officers coming in and meeting with the students, and then the rescue squad. A lot of the students go there during the time where we're celebrating them and appreciating them. So they are meeting them, but I didn't know if George wanted to, if there was anything else that I didn't know.
No, the only thing I would comment on is that, as you acknowledge, we do have that kind of relationship with the police department, and they do walkthroughs through both schools every day. They're here at arrival and dismissal, and as much as they can be, but they also don't have a large staff, a large department, and they do have the obligations in the community. But I do think the kids are very comfortable with the police officers, and I agree with the the spirit of what you're saying. We also have our DARE program. We had our graduation last week, and the police are working with the fifth grade students, and that continues.
Thank you.
I remember at food trucks this year, last year, we had the trucks come in, EMS came, fire trucks, police. That's cool too. That's a nice way to do it.
Yeah,
Maybe
they're
we
at
can work with the
Halloween.
PTO.
Yeah, at the
Yeah.
trunk or treat
Yeah,
as
no, it's
well.
a great
And
idea.
it's
That could be
nice,
another
you
way to
know,
do it,
yeah.
too.
If maybe, I feel like some of these, not all the students are there outside events. If that certain program doesn't do it, then other programs, maybe you think outside the box, how can we involve them? Maybe donate with a police officer, something similar like that, or EMS, because we do have, they're volunteer in our borough. So if we appreciate them, I think these children, hopefully one of them would want to be a firefighter or an EMS or possibly a police officer. It's just, like I said, creating that environment and just making them comfortable both ways. Thank you.
Any other business? Okay, we're going to move on to comments from the public. Just please remember to state your name and address. This is on any item. Okay, seeing no one. We are going to move into an executive session. There is not going to be any board business after it, just so that you know. But we will come back into public session just to close the meeting. So can I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Mr. Pepe, can you please read the reason for us going into executive session?
Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-11, permits the Board of Education to meet in closed session to discuss certain matters. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Education adjourns to closed session to discuss specific prospective or current employees, unless all who could be adversely affected request an open session, which they have not. Be it further resolved, the minutes of this closed session will be made public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. This closed session may be followed by an open session where action may be taken, although that is not the intent, as Mrs. Harvey said.
Okay, thank you for joining us this evening. This meeting is adjourned.